What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Let's have a class. It's dark in here. I was getting frustrated from the light and the fan bouncing off the TV. So this looks a lot better. So I'm going to teach you guys the reason why things go wrong out here. I have many years behind me with washing and low voltage installs professionally as well. So I'm trying to pass this on to you guys because I see a lot of problems in this field, and you got to understand why things are happening. So I'm not going to try to draw this all out. I am going to do this as fast as possible, but make it make sense. A lot of you guys, this is something I made a long time ago. A lot of you guys say, oh, this pump's garbage. Has nothing to do with the pump, guys. Has to do with the install and the user. It's not the pump. So we're going into pumps. You have to remember on these pumps, there's a couple things that we do differently to these. We treat these a little different, okay? A lot of these pumps are made for straight spraying. They use them in RVs to flush a toilet, turn on the sink, okay? They're not on and off, on and off, on and off the sink, you know what I mean? So that would create a surge and resistance in the power line from its cycling, right? So when you're buying your pumps, you have to look at what the pump is asking for. Well, I want this pump. Okay, well, if you want this pump right here, this bad boy surges to 35. And the lower the voltage you go, the closer it's going to get to that. So when you get lower on voltage, when you're down by the 12.1 and going under 12, is when you're going to see this thing pull 35 surge because it's running out of power, and the pump's going to pull what it wants and burn everything up on its way. And I'm going to show you that it happens. Here's a Remco. It acts for 24 amps. The next Remco, it acts for 19 amps. So all these pumps got to be built different, right? So you have to run your numbers. This is what I always teach you guys. You have to run your numbers. You can't just throw a pump on a trailer and think because Tractor Supply or anybody else sells the wiring kit that goes to a battery, that's the correct way to do it. That is the wrong way to do it. So this is the right way to do it. So if you're at 13.8 volts at the battery, that's what that means. And the pump calls for 24 amps, right? And the wire length, you have to put in the positive and negative. So my kits, I based it off that, is a 5-foot kit, which is 10 feet of wire. My percentage drop is a 1% drop. This is very important. This is where nobody understands what's going on. And this is why stuff burns up. Right here. This is what you really need to listen to. So it's a 1% drop. You're building a system. You're asking a pump to do a job. So you need to give the pump the storage as well as the wiring to get it the best performance that it could put out, right? So if you start at 13.8 volts, this thing, the calculator puts in the check already by itself when you put the 1% drop. Okay? It says 6 gauge. So that means at 13.8 volts, you're going to be at 13.7 at the pump. That's what that's telling you. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. That is a voltage drop. This is where people burn up stuff. I'm going to show you. So now we have another calculator, but we changed some numbers. We went 13.8, that's the same. 24 amp, that's the same. We changed the wire from 10 feet, we changed it to 20 feet because that's 10 feet of wire. So if you bought a 10-foot kit off Amazon or whatever, and you install that whole entire kit, this is what you're doing. Percentage drop, 5%. I had to do that to show you the check mark. If I put it at 1%, it won't show you the check mark. So do you see at the 5%, it's showing you 10 gauge is okay? But here's the key ingredient, guys and girls. The battery's at 13.8 volts. Why would you want to be at 13.3 at the pump? Do you see that? If you use 10 gauge, why would you want to lose that much power? You're asking a pump to do all this work, but you're not giving the pump any power. That's the problem. So let's go to the next one. Next one is the 24 volt pumps, because I know some of you guys follow me. You have a 50 amp on that pump in that manual. He asks for 50 amps continuous. So on my kit, I based it off my kit, a wire length 10 feet, which is 5 and 5, at a 1% drop. See what it's asking for? 6 gauge. You guys got to remember, the bigger the drop, the less the spray time that you have, and the more heat and resistance you create in the system. What's next? Okay, so this is what happens when you get low on voltage, or you don't have breakers at the battery, or you're sharing power with a bunch of stuff. Okay, so this is what happened. Now, guys, you could do the same thing to that system off of gas and heaters, like that one was, to your 12 volt pump. If the pump is asking for the power and you're trying to put one battery and trying to spray for 8 hours, it's not going to happen. You're going to end up with burnt up wires, because the lower the voltage, the higher the amp draw. So you always want 2 batteries, because if you use one battery, that means the minute you get on a gun, you're losing power. But with 2 batteries, that means when you get on the gun, yes, you're losing power, but you have a whole nother battery behind you helping you stay strong and getting you that distance and keeping the ass behind the gun. So that's the point of having extra batteries. So this is the kit I'm building. This is how you guys build them. Like I said, if you want to buy them from me, that's great. But I would love to see you guys work on your own equipment as well, because you got to learn how to fix it while you're out there. So there's my 6-inch so jumper to the breaker to protect the line, to the switch, all the way to the bus bars. The bus bars is where you hook up the pump, the positive and the negative. So if you go down, the pump goes down, and you need to switch out the pump on the fly, you can unscrew them, switch out your pump. If you have your backup pump correct, set up, it's less than 2 minutes, guys. This is setting yourself up for success out there. So this is what it looks like, taken apart. There's the marine switch. Everything has a rating. You see that? Everything has ratings. So you have to give the equipment what it needs. Now, I use all marine equipment, right? Why? Because we're around salt water, right? Which is SH. So I want to build it like a saltwater boat, so I'm not paying for new wire every single year. If you use heat shrink over all your fittings, like how I show you, that's protecting the wire also. Even though it's tinted, you're still protecting it. So these are my tools. I'm just showing you guys so you could see it if you're asking. So basically the way I'm making them is the way I ran the calculator. It's 5 feet from here, 5 feet from there. And then you have a little extra power, of course. And then that's my little fun box. Okay, so this is getting into understanding batteries. You have to understand how batteries work, how wire works, to make sure your pump works at 100%, right? So when you're building a system, or if you're buying a system, you got to know how long that system is going to run, right? If you don't know how long that system is going to run, you go out there for 4 hours and you come back with a burnt up pump. Did anybody tell you you only have like an hour to spray, or you got to put it on a charger or whatever? But this is where the difference comes in with a marine battery and a lithium battery. Lithium is going to give you all the power in the world, and marine is going to take a dive on you. So this is another reason why you want a 1% drop, is because you want to save power. You see what I'm saying? Let's see what's next. These are the bigger pumps. I'll pause it for a second so you guys can see it. So, 1% drop on a system, you're asking for it to do all the power in the world, right? You're asking this to do all the pump to get all this power from the batteries. So you got to give them the power, right? So you always hear me complain about sharing battery for a soft wash to a machine. On the electric side of it, I'm not a fan of it. Yes, they have all these resistors you could add and so on. That's different. But the way people wire them today, you have to remember, guys, when you hook up your positive and negative from your motor to that battery, and you're hooking your soft wash to the same exact thing, when you pull the draw, it is pulling the draw off the pump, off your 8-gallon. So you guys understand that. You have nothing special in there to not do that. So if you're going to do something, you have to do it right. But most of you aren't going to understand how to do that. So that's why I always tell you guys you shouldn't share power. You should run on your own independent power, because then you know how long that system could run for. Because when you share power with the machine, and that machine's putting out 26 amps, and say that battery is low now, and you're still pulling off the soft wash, right? You're low voltage, which means your amps are going to go higher. So that means your pump is suffering and you're not getting the right spray out of the pump, because the pump's not getting what it's supposed to be getting. A lot of people think these machines charge these batteries to full. They do not, guys. You must maintain your batteries. Like I said, in Florida, the batteries barely last us 2 years. So right here, I always tell you guys got to put a fuse at the end of your system. And yes, it's the end of the system. It's not the beginning. Because when you build, you start from the pump and you work your way to the battery. Because you got to know what the pump is asking for. Right? So, this is what happens, guys, when you don't put a fuse at the battery. It will burn up. Okay? This is why I tell you guys, voltage drop. Too much amps. The wire doesn't support the amperage. You guys are using spaghetti wire. You guys are using speaker wire. You guys, this is what I'm trying to teach you guys. Do you really think people on their mind these pumps like they don't pull nothing? Oh, it's only 12 volts. You see this here, right, guys? I don't know if you're... I got tons of pictures like this. Look at that. There's a battery. I mean, I got tons of pictures out there. So this is what I'm trying to teach you. When you're building your system, you have to match, well, not match. You have to be above the surge, right? I always tell you 125, 150 above the surge. So this little 20 amp switch is not going to work on a Remco, because Remco max is 24 amps. So this is underbuilt. You have to be overbuilt. So you would want to use, that's why I use the marine switches, because they allow like 200 amps through it. So it's not going to choke my system up. And there's a reason why I'm talking about this, because I'm going to show you the difference between what a switch will do to a system. So this was this these you have to be careful with. Them switches, they're only rated for so much on a system. So, like I said, you have to buy over what it's asking. You never buy under. I'm sorry, I backed it up too far. So, you're at 20 amps there. Like I said, the wire is burning up. So, pressure gauge. I always tell you guys, you got to pressurize your systems. You guys got to know what tips you're putting in. You got to know when the machine's shutting off, what's the PSI. Because if you bought a 60 PSI and it's shutting off at 100 PSI, you need to fix that. But if you don't have a gauge, how are you going to know, right? So this is why I teach you guys. If you're looking to be in this business long term, you got to tune in your systems. So this is a gauge on the system. So there's a big difference between a ball valve washer and a trigger washer. When I say that is, a ball valve guy can't get on the trigger and off the trigger really as fast as a trigger guy. So a ball valve guy is going to give the pump a little more breathing room, I feel. And a lot of ball valve guys, they just let it ride. The guys with trigger guns, if you watch, a lot of them are on and off the gun. So that creates a lot of resistance in the line. So it depends on your style of washing, which will depend on what you're doing to your system. This is the video right here that I was just talking about, a switch. That switch was in the system and it doesn't work, guys. It's a 19 amp pump. 20 amps is not going to cover it. It's not enough room for it to breathe. It will create heat. 50 PSI. So you see how the stream is? You see how weak it is, right? I caught on to this while we were doing this video. So I told him to switch out the switch when he got home. Right? And this is what happened.
You're right again. Listen to how happy this pump sounds now. Look how clean the stream is too. It ain't sprayed like that in a while. Asshole.
Nope. Here's another buddy of mine all over the world that I've helped, and we became good friends. It's all about the wiring, guys. There's nothing to, trust me. If the wiring's not right, you're never going to see the power out of that the pump could put out, because you're shortchanging the pump. You got to get the power to the pump. So a lot of you guys, I explain this on the phone or through Messenger with you. If you watch a lot of guys that run hose to hose, same size to same size, you actually, to me, from listening to the pump from the years being out there, it's the same as a pressure washer. We load the pressure washers up. So a pump is a pump. It doesn't change anything. Just because one is gas and one is diaphragm or whatever, physics all works the same, right? So if you match half to half, to me, the system takes a beating. Okay? When I changed mine out after speaking to Don, the hydro guy, amazing dude, he taught me why to upgrade all my hoses. And I did everything he said, and I've noticed a major difference. A lot of people say, well, I use half inch. Correct. Half inch is going to depend on what are you doing. Are you trying to get 3 stories high onto a roof? Then yeah, I could see you using half inch because you need that back pressure, right? So for me, I use 200 feet of 5/8. Why? Because that's all I need. And I don't go up more than 1 story, 2 stories. So if I need something bigger, then I use a different machine. That's why we build trailers for our workflow, right? You build them for your workflow. Speaking about workflow, you must flush your system. A lot of guys say they flush their system, and when I run their system, I almost die. And I say this jokingly, but if you're not willing to drink the water that's coming out of it, it's not clean. Do not cheat yourself. It's going to cost you a ton of money in repairs. Do it the right way. Use the machines. This machine right here I showed you, it checks the loads on the battery, it checks the voltage, it works on your truck. I think it was like 15 bucks, guys. If you don't know how to use a voltmeter, there you go, 14.14, right? So it has a built-in voltmeter when you put the clamps on it. A lot of you guys put tape on everything. You guys shouldn't use tape on everything. Some things need tape. Some things don't need tape. Okay? You got to use what it's made for. This is great. Especially on you guys that like to put a lot of tape on them check valves. And then you crack the check valve. So, a lot of guys have been using this lately. And it's been holding up great. So, it's good stuff. I've used it. This is my favorite tape. It's the tape I used to use, and I used to suck from the bottom of my tanks. And this is what I used. I never had leak issues, unless it needed to be, maintained. I'd take it apart, cleaned out the tanks, and then maintain the tanks, put all new tape on it. Tape doesn't last forever, guys. Chemicals eat everything, so you have to maintain your equipment. So, what happens when the pump isn't getting 12 volts? I'm running out of power. Like I told you guys earlier, this is where voltage drop comes into play. You want to stay away from 12 volts. You want to stay as high as possible. Okay? When you get to 12 volts and under, this is when amperage goes up through the roof and stuff starts to melt, like your micro switches and your relays. That's pretty much everything I could teach. The important thing is running your numbers, guys, and using a voltmeter. Okay. I don't know how many slides are left. But, it's 20 seconds left. So on this Remco, a lot of guys will say, oh, my pump's broke, my pump's broke. This is why I said it's not the pump, guys. It's before the pump. It's the relay. It's the micro switch. So this is how we test them. We cut the top off, the negative and positive that goes to the top. We take the negative and the positive from the bottom in the motor, and we hook it to the positive and negative. If that pump spins, guys, that pump is not broke. It's now a bypass pump. See? It runs. So, I've helped a lot of people over the years, and I appreciate it. I've built a nice family out here with all of you guys. All I want to see is you guys, everybody succeed, do it right. I hate to see you guys get frustrated, because things are done wrong. That's the problem. You got to do it right so it runs right. That's as much as I could teach. Let's see what's left. So this is my kit. I'm showing you guys how I bag them up. I bag them in there. I put them in the box. And I ship them. I bought custom boxes like I showed you. But this is not for selling. I just wanted to show you guys how I did my stuff in the video. So it's all in one video. Please run your numbers, guys. If you're not running your numbers, you're gonna burn it up, and it's not the pump. I promise you. You have to read the pumps. You have to feed them what they need. If you don't feed these pumps what they need, they're going to burn up. It doesn't matter. Run your numbers, guys. 1% drop. No more. The more of a drop, like I showed you, and I'm just breezing through this one more time. So, if you're running that 10 gauge, okay, if you're running 10 gauge on a Remco, 10 feet long, you're running a 5% drop. The calculator never lies. That means you're starting at 13.8 and your pump is only seeing 13.3. Do you see what you're doing to your pump and your wash time? You already lost it all. You need it back. So you got to go down here. That's why I tell you guys you can't be using that cheap stuff or thin stuff. So hopefully that helps. If there's anything else I can help you with, please message me and let me know. Have a great night. Hopefully this class helped. I think it helped. I think it should help you guys. I really do. Thank you again. Have a great night.